Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast, the business of building homes. I'm Katie, here with my brother Ben, and today we are talking about 2026 company-wide goals. We announced formally and informally, I guess, this week what they are. Went out in our company newsletter on Monday, and then each of our teams should have had a nice little rollout with their department meetings this week to discuss how to start setting their department and individual goals around what these company goals are. So we thought we should probably talk about it.
I think this is different than a lot of companies, don't you?
You tell me why you think so.
I think that it's very easy to get so focused on very specific metrics and, number-oriented goals that you don't really see behind the curtain of like what actual steps are going to be taken. And we kind of flipped it around where it was like a little more vague. So we'll just go through the five real quick. Play as one team, own your own playbook, own your playbook, build with care, develop our partnerships, protect and grow profit. And on their face, you're just kind of like, duh, right?
Right.
But what we were trying to communicate in our leadership meeting was like, what does that mean for you, for each one? And you did a great job of coming up with prompts for, them to work through each of the five and how does their team contribute to each one.
Right.
And instead of being like, we're going to get this many closings, we're going to have this much gross profit. Those are derivatives, as we always say.
Yes.
So.
Well, I think, what you're saying to start is that it's different. Well, it's different from what we've been doing because I feel like we've kind of tried the metric based for the past couple of years, and it felt kind of like we were chasing our tail. We were focused on the things that focused on, like you're saying, a derivative of what the intention is. If we do all of these things well, we'll get the settlements that we want. We'll reach the gross profit that we need. It's an outcome of the behavior.
We already know those are the outcomes.
Exactly. So what we want to reinforce is the behavior this year. That's a completely different mindset than what we've had. We were working on reinforcing numbers before. Now we're reinforcing behavior because, as we all know, the most effective way to, push towards your success is to have people doing things well, and that's behaviors.
Sorry, I just yawned because it's like the dead of winter out there, and it's just a dreary
mid-ice storm.
Yeah.
I can't believe I even drove in today.
Yeah.
You were shocked to see me.
I was, yeah. You're not a big snow guy.
Opposite of a big snow guy.
So what does play as one team mean to you?
It means that we are all understanding what sport we're playing.
Yeah.
Right. It means
sports.
We know that the entire company, regardless of what your department position is, that we are selling and building homes. That's the sport we play. Selling and building homes. I don't know if we wish it had like a real name. That's why we like to compare or have like a lot of baseball themes because there's a really easy tie-in to sports.
Yeah.
For what we do. But I think playing as one team is knowing, what the game is, what the rules are, and then knowing your own position on the team and staying in your lane. And then knowing when to support other positions or wherever the role is needed. So I think the reason we want to focus so heavily on playing as one team is if we clarify each one of those things, keep your eye on the fact that we are selling and building homes, that you have to know your position and when you're supposed to step in during the selling and building process. That's all key to get those outcomes that we were talking about. So it is establishing, good habits, good behaviors.
Clear roles, cleaner handoffs.
Yeah.
I think I said this in the leadership meeting. It's like, I can't think of many industries out there that require more handoffs.
Oh, I know.
Than what we do. And it is a little more in our specific niche of production
Yeah.
home building.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I always say, why don't we do custom? It's because of how many people are involved.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me when I was doing remodeling because I tried to control a lot of it. And it actually worked better the less people that were involved because
less handoffs.
Yeah, you don't have to communicate all these very critical details constantly. In this business, we have to.
Exactly.
And so it's just highlighting how important it is for us to communicate all those things on a daily basis.
Right.
And knowing that, I might just be like a small silo, but to my left and to my right, it's like it could make or break the whole project.
Exactly.
If I don't pass the baton correctly. So we start with play as one team because you can't do any of the other four
without it. That's exactly right.
So number one is understanding your role first. Number two is understanding the role of others and how our actions affect the ultimate outcome.
And keeping on the theme of the handoffs and communication. It's like, I don't know how many times you can say the word communication and handoff, but I don't know if there's an amount that's too many. I mean, the real point we want to make with play as one team is to make sure that everybody understands how, like you just said, they're being impacted before and after their portion of it, but that includes and probably starts with the communication from the person ahead of you.
Yeah.
That says, okay, this is our customer, this is our trade partner, or like giving context to what has happened already.
Sure.
So even though we do the same things over and over and over again, every single one is different. So it's at least communicating, saying out loud what the deal is for this particular person, like customer, when it's the next person's piece.
Yeah. The variables are constant.
Yeah, exactly. And we, in a world of automation, where everything is just streamlined and automated and you get your next task and, okay, now tag you're it, the email went out, so now you have to do something. That communication and that conversation has been happening less and less, and we want to kind of bring it back up again.
Yeah.
It's okay to call your teammate.
Yeah.
And just say
on your cellular device.
Exactly. Sale comes through and selection gallery has to make an appointment. It's okay for the sales consultant to call the selection gallery consultant and say, hey, just want to let you know they've got little kids. They've got a parent that lives with them. They work third shift. They, give the human some context. Now I'm getting ahead of myself because that bleeds into build with care, but I'm kind of setting the stage for playing as one team starts with communication. Even though you already said it starts with knowing your role, but it starts then.
Yeah, I think you just
blend
it's
that.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Knowing your role is understanding when you need to communicate.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
And that's pretty basic.
Which goes directly into the next one.
Yeah, own your own playbook.
Own your playbook. Yeah.
I think knowing your role gives you the starting point, the foundation for building your playbook, which is, SOPs, however you want to, whatever lingo people are familiar with.
Yeah.
But it is what you do day in, day out, week in, week out in your role and your team and how you execute, your duties. And then you take play as one team to another level. Yes. And you say, okay, what is my department's areas of ownership? What are our roles and responsibilities, and how do they interact?
Yeah, what's the crossover?
Yeah. So another handoff, maybe not person to person, but department to department. And you kind of level up as you go through these 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are my thoughts on own your own playbook.
What's interesting about this one is we have a really wide variety of, I guess, stages that each department or person is at. Some people have no playbook. It's a new department. We've got engineering now. They don't have a playbook at all. So that's a big goal for that team, is to create what their day-to-day standards are. Then we have a team that has been here, we've got our production team. They have an extensive playbook, but they have an opportunity now to look at it with fresh eyes and say, how can I streamline? How can I be more efficient? How can I simplify this?
Let me dust this off.
Right. Because something that happens over time is, unless you audit your processes and your playbook, you tend to overcomplicate it over time.
We're asking everybody to audit.
Yeah, exactly. If you have something, audit. If you have nothing, create it.
Right. And there's going to be a lot of, if you're doing it correctly, you're going to be probably like interviewing a lot of people that you cross over with.
Yes.
If it's your first time creating it,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be like, okay, if I really want to do this correctly, I got to understand what the outcomes are expected of me. Which set of outcomes am I responsible for?
Right.
In my department.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start with that. And then talking to a lot of people about, probably how they can make their job easier for others.
Right. Well, and that's, again, we're building. Play as one team has to be forefront of your mind before you create the playbook or audit your playbook, because anybody can just make it up and decide exactly how they want to operate.
Yeah.
But you can't just
and you're
document.
just going to be your own guy.
Right.
Shoved off into the ocean.
Yeah, great playbook.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. The complexity is connecting the teams and having that crossover, making sure that what you decide your playbook is doesn't mess somebody else up.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're winning,
right,
you're causing someone else to lose. That's not playing as one team. That's not what we want. You might have to compromise how you want to do things or what you're going to accomplish, because it has to be for the greater good. So you have to look at who you're serving first, who wins from the outcome that you're you said, like, you have to know what your outcome is. So
what are the goals?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, what is a measure of success in your individual role or your department?
Mm-hmm.
That might just be somebody else doing a good job.
Yeah.
So are you aligned with that? Especially on the admin support side. I mean, it's like,
right.
That's kind of where we live is, does operations get to sell and build easily? Great. That's what our job is.
Yeah, you have a different set of customers than operations does.
Correct, yeah.
Which leads to build with care.
Exactly.
To me, it's the bread and butter of what we do. We have one focus to deliver a product for our customers in an excellent way.
Right.
In so many words.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of where we talked about, like, being creative, being fun, enjoying the variables that inevitably will come to your job.
Right.
But making it, light, enjoyable, fun, and bringing passion to execute through those challenges, variables, roadblocks that are on every job.
Exactly. And the reason we worded it build with care is because if you apply that to every step of the process, especially when there is an issue, if you are looking at it with care, you're going to problem solve the right way.
Yeah.
If you think about, okay, how can I do this knowing that I'm delivering this to another person?
Yeah.
If I'm connecting this to the customer, you're not going to let something slide. You might take the extra step. You'll stop the job to fix something along the way instead of just, we got to get this done. We have to, get our days under construction. It doesn't mean we want to extend the life of the build.
But sometimes it's just what makes sense.
Yeah.
On a job.
And then you try to catch up.
I think doing something for other people is often, more profound than somebody acting selfishly.
Yeah.
Like, even though we're all selfish human beings,
right.
like self-preservationists.
Yeah.
I think when if you have a production manager who sees a repetitive issue in specific models, if they think about how it might positively affect one of their fellow production managers in their teams, if they would promote a change in the process, that might actually be more impactful than if they're just like trying to eliminate their own stress.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to think outside of yourself to get really motivated.
Right.
We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers each year. So we should have more than enough motivation to fix the glitches.
Yeah. I mean, we just want to reinforce that we've got really high standards of excellence with our product, you know.
Right.
But the other side of the coin is we are creating it for families and people and humans, and that's the thing that we have to have at the forefront of our mind when we're putting that together. To say, you know, we can't be robots.
It's basic hospitality.
Yes.
At its core.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just, we're experts in building homes, and education about the process is really important.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, you know, at the end of the day, you're still just a customer service person.
Yes.
I say just, like, meaning we're all equal in that.
We're
all just serving customers.
Exactly.
We basically have different skill sets across the company. And so it's just kind of being hospitable is the easy answer.
Yeah.
So.
But that you're kind of leaning right into the next one with develop our partnerships, because we do kind of, depending on your role or what you do here, your customer might be someone different than just our home buyers.
Correct. Yeah. You know? So your side of the business is very much supporting my side, the external operations, if you will. And then we have this whole other, I don't even know if you want to say another large group of relationships that we're always cultivating.
Yes.
Being careful to take care of, which is lenders, title companies, realtors, developers, trade partners, so many people outside of these four walls that aren't our home buyers.
Exactly. Yeah, so we've got our customers, our home buyers, our employees.
Right.
And then our actual partners. And that's that whole list that you just rattled off, that we know that we can't be successful without all of them. That's right. The only way to sell and build homes is with all of those relationships.
I'm trying to think of the example that I gave in the leadership meeting.
We should have
I remember what it was.
The transcript.
It was like just envisioning being the best builder ever.
Oh, yeah. You have a little cartoon.
Yeah, the best ever, right?
Yes.
And we know we're not the best ever. Let's just get that out of the way, because there's only one best ever, and there's hundreds of thousands of home builders out there. So if you are trying to get there, and you probably won't ever get there because it's just constantly pursuing excellence, what would it take for all of those people, including our homeowners, but especially our trade partners, to just say that out loud? Like, you know already where we could do better.
Oh, say out loud what we could do better.
Yeah, we know if our customers, if all those stakeholders said we're the best ever, we know right now what we would need to do to get there.
Right.
Like basics. You know, we need to get better at this. We need to get better at that. Right. So if we can confidently say that most of them aren't going to say that right now.
Yeah.
What are those answers?
Yeah. How do you back into that?
Right.
And create a plan to take steps towards improvement.
Right. And I say that because we do have small examples of that. We have developers who said, I will only work for Berks Homes, or I only will sell lots to Berks Homes. And it's very, very encouraging, because you go, why?
Yeah.
Let's repeat that. You know, what makes it so great to work with us? So what can we stand on? What can we, make a name for ourselves with?
Right.
That this guy's saying we're so great to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's amplify that. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put that out there. The same thing with homeowners. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like we don't have. I mean, I just saw an amazing homeowner review
Yeah.
of some people on our team being really, really great through a very difficult time for this home buyer, and like she was just very complimentary.
Right.
How do you bottle that up and say, yeah, I mean, she basically said, I don't know who could have done a better job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So somebody says that.
Yeah.
How do you make everybody say that?
Right. Well, and I really like that approach because a lot of the times you just look for problems,
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to fix problems. But if you amplify the good, it honestly gets you further,
Right.
faster, because that's focusing on the positive, focusing on what works.
Right.
Let's double down on that.
And I think I wrote like the arrow to the best ever, and then like our core values. That's the behavior you need to use.
Yes.
Again, if you're just searching for problems, that is not part of our guiding principles.
Correct.
It's negative. That's not who we are.
Right.
So I think you have the answers. You just have to take action on it. So that was what I was thinking about with develop our partnerships.
You also put up there that the behaviors with our guiding principles and our core values up there, but the path is built through our relationships with all of these people.
Yes, yeah.
So that's kind of the point of develop our partnerships is, amplify the things that are working and enhance that relationship, because that's how we will sell more, build better, and grow.
Yeah.
Is when we've got that team that we're building inside and outside of our organization. So we really wanted to focus on that because we don't talk about that a lot in the context of it being important to the success of our business. We talk about our partners a lot, but the fact is we need to work with them hand in hand, play as one team with them as much as our own employees.
It's a massive lever.
Yeah.
To pull, you know what I mean? There's way more outside partners than we have people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's in the thousands.
So they need to be in the mix here.
They need to be in the mix.
Yeah.
So we just have one person all over the map that worked for us. One person in all these locations dealing with 15 of the others at a time. So, all right, land the plane, protect and grow profit.
Yep.
Pretty self-explanatory. We had to start as a team to get down to here.
You can't, be a successful business without profit and growth in some capacity, but having it last, and it's a honorable mention in some ways, because we are seeing that the reasons we were successful over the past few years was despite our focus on numbers.
Right.
So all our areas of win were not goal setting and meeting around these metrics specifically with profitability. It was more so the things that we did with culture and mindset and our teams than anything having to do with gross profit, net contribution, all of that stuff. So
yeah, and it's perfectly written, protect and grow profit.
Yeah.
Because you have to do both, a little bit of both.
Yep.
So if you lean heavily towards one only, you're just going to be missing opportunities potentially. How would have it worked out if we were only concerned about growing our top line revenue in the last 18 months? The market was not there to experience exponential revenue growth.
Exactly.
So thank goodness that we
did both.
Concentrated at that time initially more on protecting our profit.
Fair, yeah.
To start. Because it's kind of easy to grow profit in some ways. Like you can go, there's ways in most businesses to go get more business.
Yes.
Right? It is not easy to look at your expenses and decide to reduce. line items
Yep.
where you're like, you know what? That magazine subscription is gone. If you have a magazine subscription out there in 2025, you should probably get rid of it.
We're asking you nicely.
That example. But, there's like, I mean, we slashed probably, I don't even know, let's just say $50,000 of stuff that meant absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody even knows what that was.
Yes. And that, from one GL.
Yeah.
We probably did that on 10.
I'm just saying, like, there was probably some line items where you're like, that was $20,000. We're looking at each other. We don't even know what it is.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Does somebody have a login to that? Is that a software? Is that a magazine?
Probably was. Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the really great part of being able to say this is an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, we can laugh about it now.
Because of the effort and discipline that everyone contributed over the past year and a half. Like, thank you, first of all, everyone, because that is how we have gotten through, like, to the point where we are this year. The market is not fantastic.
Doesn't scare us, though.
Not at all, because of the ability to protect what we have. And then as soon as there's even a sniff of opportunity in the market, we're capitalizing on it.
Right.
So it's got to be in here because we have to pull both levers, and it is important to any business. You have to you know, very much concentrate on that. But we wanted to make sure that it's not the point of this year.
Oh, it's a sign of discipline and excellence.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
Being wasteful is not in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm not going to spend an extra $20 unnecessarily.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair to my coworkers.
Right.
And so that's the mindset that we need to have, where I would much rather give any excess wasteful spending to the employees.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah. So every dollar that we can conserve, we can save, is an opportunity for all of us to share in that.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, and the one thing I don't know if we mentioned, even when we were talking about it as we were developing these, is it's not just dollars spent that we're talking about protecting, it's also time.
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot of great efficiencies and automations that have been made, and what that allows us to do, like we were talking about a little bit before, is kind of add more human touches to our work instead of having to spend so much time with doing things.
Yeah.
If we
collaboration more.
Exactly. It's a lot more time for communication, to develop our partnerships, to work together as a team, to communicate with that home buyer, because we've got easy processes. Simplify the things that don't matter.
And the world's changing too.
Yeah.
And so you can figure out how you're going to adapt your own way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like what I'm learning is like me working, like physically working at my desk, trying to figure things out. I'm way less capable than AI.
Right.
And I'm not, and I've decided that I will not participate. So what am I doing? I'm asking other people to help me solve problems.
Oh, that's a good life
instead of
hack.
trying to work through things myself.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be more inefficient. And what that does is that collaboration starts new ideas for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I love to be by myself. I love to just lock myself away in a hole for weeks on end. And in my perfect world, I wouldn't talk to anybody. But that doesn't do anything for creativity long term.
Or
leadership. Could also say probably leading people. Yeah.
Probably got to get you out of your hole.
Yeah. I haven't been able to really be super effective because all of these, new reports that we have and stuff does all that stuff for me. I just have to click a couple buttons and see it all. So it doesn't matter, which is a good thing.
So anything else that you want to say about these 5 goals for next year?
No, I mean, they're simple.
Yeah.
And that was the point. And I'm excited to see, I guess it would be next 2 weeks we're going to find out what everybody's goals are.
Yeah, everybody's
specifics.
Yeah, working on them starting this week, the whole company, however, it translates to each person. And then we will go over the whole organization in the middle of December. So
cool.
If now, on this like very dreary, snowy day at the end of the year where everybody's just grinding to try to accomplish what we wanted to for 2025, it's a little difficult to get inspired and pick your head up and say, okay, wait, I'm supposed to vision next year. I'm not even done with what's happening this year. That's why we wanted to put a little more heart and soul into some of these goals to give you something to look forward to make a little connection and make it a little easier to come up with how you can contribute to these next year and not just focus on something as sterile and dry as a number. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't align metrics with this. Like we were talking about this before a little bit. We've got a lot of different personalities here. Some people are motivated by metrics, and this is difficult for them to see this and
they're
say,
like, but what are the goals?
Yeah, this doesn't mean anything. Okay, we understand.
What's my number?
Exactly.
Like a salesperson.
Right. It doesn't mean we aren't having numbers. That's not the point.
Oh, I have numbers.
Right. You can throw metrics at this all day. It doesn't mean that we don't want you to do that. We just want everyone to understand that the metric is the outcome of doing these things, of having these behaviors. So you can tie your metric to it, but if they're not aligned, if your metric doesn't support one of these things, then your focus is wrong for next year.
Right.
So just make sure that whatever metric you're tying to aligns with these behaviors.
Yeah, it should have one specific thing for each bullet point.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit like that's probably somebody that's more motivated, like a green. If we're talking SDI, detailed, analytical, we're going to have our metrics. Okay. Well, let's just tie it into the overall goals. Or if you are more of a blue, you might not even have a metric that you're thinking of. Well,
just thinking about people.
Right. You should probably tie it to something that's measurable.
Right.
You don't need to overcomplicate it, but just like a little, connection there. And if you're a red, just make sure you're not running somebody over.
Get outside of your own
winning
life.
For yourself.
Yes.
That's why we're starting with
these
play
are
as one team.
my goals.
Right. So we just, to put it in context for everybody's personality, it might be a little difficult looking at these for someone. It might be too easy for someone else. And for,
what about the chameleons?
Well, this is best day ever for the hubs.
Yeah.
You could just do whatever you want.
Right.
It's all going to make sense.
All right.
So if you have any questions, your managers should be very well versed in what your team wants to accomplish and great conversations. But as always,
reach out to Katie.
Ben's just going to be in his hole looking at
you
spreadsheets.
can copy me. Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Go 2026.
Go 2026. See ya.
Bye.